Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2 Meter Crew Antinet. My name is Nick. Call sign is KN6DAL. I'll be tonight's coordinator, and we want to take a second and just say a big thanks to the owners and operators of the W6 VVR repeater and the Vacaville Radio Club. Also to the Freestar Network for the use of their repeaters and digital connections, and to the owners and operators of the Mountain West system. And again, to the owners and operators of the WX5 NAS repeater system. And then also a big thanks to Mike, WG5EEK, Greg, W5GSW, and Brian, KK6BXP, for all of their continued networking efforts. Before we get started, we want to take a second and see if there's any priority or emergency traffic. If there is at any point in the net, you can say break, break with your call, and we will clear the air for you. Is there any priority or emergency traffic at this time? All right, nothing being heard. So this is what we are. The 2 Meter Crew is not an actual club. We're just a group of friends that are learning and enjoying all things ham related. There's no dues, no fees, no costs to be a 2 Meter Crew member. If you'd like to find out more information, you can visit our website at 2metercrew.net. You can also join our Discord. There's links in the description on YouTube for that. And the YouTube channel is Northwest Ham Shack. You can like and subscribe there, and we will give you notifications on when we go live. This is an open net. It's open for everybody, and everyone's welcome to jump in and say hi. And tonight's going to be a little bit different. We have Mike with us, WG5EEK. He's going to be presenting a topic, and we'll get to him in just a second. Before we do that, we will go over and take a second and see if we got anybody that wants to check in. The 2 Meter Crew Antinet meets every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. That's 3 a.m. UTC, and we are on the W6 VVR repeater. We're also able to be linked up through multiple different digital connections. Echolink is at W6VVR-R. Allstar Nodes 51094 and 512342. Also through DMR Talk Group 3174-117. You can also check us out through YSF Reflector 50462. And we are linked to Freestar tonight, and their All-Star links are 2195 and 2196. We are also connected to the Mad Scientist Amateur Radio Club repeater in San Mateo, California. And we are also able to be connected through Zoom. So after the presentation tonight, we're going to open up the Zoom chat. If anybody wants to jump in and say hi, you're welcome to do so. And we will post links in the group chat on YouTube for that. So keep an eye out for that if you want to join our Zoom. As I said earlier, the live stream is being aired on Northwest Ham Shack. And if without any further ado, we just want to take a second and see if there's any stations that have never checked in with us before, or if you are a new operator and haven't had an opportunity to check in. Or maybe you just got your license or just recently upgraded. If that's you, come on in now.
J7 IVU, Kilo 7 India Bravo uniform, Striker in Olympia, Washington.
Striker, I haven't heard you on in a while. It's good to hear you. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Been pretty good. Been busy. Happy I could make the Antinet this week. As for new or upgraded licenses, I actually got off my hands and I got my general here this last weekend.
Whoop whoop! That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's super cool. How did you do on the test?
Not quite skin of my teeth, but close. But what do you call a doctor that graduates last in their class? Doctor.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's super cool, man. I'm happy for you. So I don't remember your station setup. Are you HF capable yet?
I have to buy a Unknown, and I can get a long wire up. That's probably going to be my first antenna, but I'm looking at getting a Buddy Stick Pro here hopefully in the near future and start doing some POTA.
That's awesome, man. Well, I know you're a long way from me, but not as long as some people. I mean, there's some people here that are halfway across the country. So if you're backed into a corner and you need something, you can always make the trek up to Everett, and we can get you set up with something to get on the air. So let me know in Discord when you get set up with an HF station, and we can definitely try to make a contact.
Will do. Thanks, Nick.
All right, good to hear from you. This is Nick, KN6DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. Let's see who else we got out there. Any other stations want to check in? All right, without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Mike, WG5EEK. We got a super cool topic. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. I'll click some buttons and get a presentation going up here for you. And we'll try to break for the repeater a few times here and see if anybody has any questions or anything along the way. Just sit back and relax. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for joining us. And if you're hearing us on the air, this should be pretty interesting for you too. So without any further ado, we'll pass it over to my good friend Mike, WG5EK. Take it away, Mike.
All right, thanks, Nick. Yeah, this is Mike here, WG5EK from Northwest Arkansas. Used to be in California, but I've since moved. I've been here a little bit over a year now. So yeah, I'm happy to still be a part of this net and the 2 Meter Crew. It's just a great group of guys and gals, and I just I put this presentation together because I just finished this project myself. It's really cool. I obviously can't take credit for it, but it's called Analog Reflector, and it kind of builds off of Dvswitch, and you can kind of integrate it into an Allstar setup, which is really cool. The main two people that I know of that were responsible for creating the software is Steve N4IRS and Mike N4IRR. They just made the software, and I'm sure they've had some help, some contributions, but those are the two main guys that I know of. So I kind of want to give them credit right off the bat. This is not my doing. I'm just trying to help anybody who wants to set it up. They can follow along with the PowerPoint that will be on it's actually already on my website. If you go to my call sign, WG5EEK.com, go to menu, go down to presentations, you can click it and you can open it up and follow along, or you can download it for later. So we'll let the repeater break for a second. All right, again, this is Mike here, WG5EEK. Yeah, so I just want to go over the basic installation and setup. So what this is, it's Analog Reflector. It kind of builds on the Dvswitch. If you've ever used Dvswitch before, it's kind of a neat software. And what this allows you to do, it allows you to operate digital modes. When I say that, I'm talking about DMR, YSF, NXDN, P25 from your web browser, which I think is cool, right? You can do it from your phone too, but there's all these cool apps to do this, but like there's not a lot that does it from your browser. You can take it with you, you can go anywhere, you have internet access, and you can just access it because you're hosting the software on your own server, right? So you're doing it, so you have control over it, so you don't have to worry about it getting shut down and then it doesn't work anymore because you're in control. So let's just kind of run over the basics for installation and what you need. So you need a Debian-based Linux system, and it can be running ARM, which is like Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi OS, which used to be called Raspbian, which is based on Debian. You could do it on an i386, like Intel processor type setup or AMD 64 setup. So you can do, you can do a little bit of a flexibility there, right? So the prerequisites for this, though, you do need Dvswitch installed. So I kind of want to go over that, what you need to do. So if you log into your shell, bash, whatever you want to call it, SSH into your machine. As root, you have to run these commands, right? You got to change directory into temp, so cd temp. Then you copy paste one at a time, hit enter. You're going to get the repository. You're going to get an update, and then you're going to install the server, right? So pretty simple steps, I think, just for the first part to get it installed, but then we have to configure it. So I'll give a break, and we can go to the next slide. All right, so here we go. What do we do after we install the Dvswitch? Like I said, it's a prerequisite for the analog reflector, which we really want to play with. So first thing you need to set up is what's called MMDVM bridge. And so what you're going to want to do is navigate to the folder that it's in, which is located in your option, your OPT MMDVM_bridge folder. So you're going to want to open up the INI file in your favorite editor. You know, it could be Nano, it could be whatever. I like to actually go in through like a nice interface like WinSCP, and I have Notepad++ installed, and it breaks it down really nice, and it formats the code really beautifully, and it makes it easier to read. That's just my preferred method. I like to work from desktop, but I also do it on my phone sometimes, and I use an app called Admin Hands, and it works just the same. So you want to skip for just one slide, and we'll go back a little bit. We'll go back and forth. So as you can see here, highlighted, you want to put your call sign. That's your call sign, not mine. And then you want to get, if you don't have a DMR ID, you got to register for one. There's a link at the end, so we'll go over that later. But you want to have your DMR ID plus a 2-digit number after. I have 03, 03. It doesn't have to be. That could be 01 or it could be 99. Just pick one. Doesn't matter. The next thing is sometimes when you install this on older Dvswitch systems, if you already have it installed, sometimes your receive and transmit frequencies are different. It's not going to let you to log into Brandmeister if that's your preferred DMR server or network. You want to make sure that those frequencies are the same. So just copy paste. Pretty simple. Let's go back a slide. Well, like we're going to go back and forth. Yeah, like I said, DMR ID, 2-digit, use your own. Make sure both frequencies are identical as I showed you. And then we'll go, I think it's 2 slides, and we'll show where the password is. And then we'll just give a slight break. All right, again, this is WG5EEK. So when I say stanza, you probably read the slide, it said DMR network stanza. What's a stanza? Anything in the square brackets, that's called a stanza. That's a whole segment of code. So like it breaks it down into blocks. That's what they call as a stanza. So your password is kind of weird. Like if you have a Brandmeister account, you might think, oh, I just log into that and that's my password. It could be. I'm not saying it won't, it's not. But you have to go into your little profile picture and then drop down to where it says self-care, and then there'll be a place for a hotspot password where you set that. That hotspot password needs to be the password here. Now, like I said, it could be the same that you have. You can make them the same. It could be different. Just be mindful which one it is. All right. And then as you see for address, it says line 70 address. So this is for US-based Brandmeister. You could be whatever your local service is if you're in, the UK or Australia or whatever. I just show these as examples. You could either put for example, I use the first one, which is 3102 as your master. I use the actual IP address instead of the domain, just because I've had issues where DNS is not working properly, and it's just easier to put the IP address in. It's going to work pretty much every time. So that's the setup for that. You want to save when you're done. And then we'll go to the next slide and take a repeater break. All right, so now this is the second setup for Dvswitch. So you have to set up your analog bridge. So you're going to back up a folder and then go into the option analog bridge folder, right? And then this is where you're going to have 2 different DMR IDs. You're going to have your base DMR ID and then that same 2-digit number. I use examples here of 01. In my picture, it's 03. I mean, it could be anything. Just use your own. And this also assumes that you don't have can you see my video on the YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so this right here is a thumb DV. It's an AMBE 3000 stick. So if you don't have one of these to plug into your system, that's how I'm going to set it up on here, because not everybody has these. These are about 120 bucks. So let's go to the next slide real quick, and then we'll take a slight ID break. All All right, again, this is WG5EEK. So here I have, if you don't have a stick, you want to have your on line 24 decoder fallback equals true, emulator true, because you're not using one of these, so you're going to have to use an emulator, which we'll have to turn on later. And then down under the A and BE audio, below that on line 39, it says gateway DMR ID. So that's your base DMR ID number. And then as you notice, I use the 03 again on the repeater ID. So you want to make sure that they're both the same in both files, right? That's pretty simple. All right, next slide. All right, so here's where you got to pay attention to the ports. So you've got your audio ports, right? So right here, they're both the same. Now, if you've ever set up Dvswitch before using Allstar, they're not the same. They're going to be like 34001 and 31001, but in this they're the same, or maybe even 32001. But in this they're the same, and it's important for this to work properly. And then in the last part there, under the DV3000, again, we don't have one of these. We're assuming you don't have one of these, and so your address is just going to be your home address 127.0.0.1. Your RX port is going to be the port that we use for the emulator, which is 2470, and then everything else, you see a semicolon, just means like that's basically there for info. It's turned off. It's commented out. So the program's not going to read it in the INI file. All right, we can save all that once we're done with that, and we'll go to the next slide, and we'll take another break. All right, again, WG5EEK Mike here. So now we've got those two files saved. We don't really have to do anything with the emulator except enable it and turn it on, because we already configured where the port's going to be, and it's already looking for that port. So you just got to run these commands. You can copy paste them from the PowerPoint, or you can do whatever you want, but it's systemctl enable the MMDVM bridge, then we start it, then we enable the analog bridge, start it, enable the MD380 emulator for the audio, and we don't have one of these, and then we start it. And this is what it looks like if you do a status on those in Linux, systemctl status in each one of those. You can see that they're running, and the very last one you'll see at the end it says 2470. That's the same port we just made sure that they were matching in that INI file. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so that's Dvswitch. It's set up pretty easy. So now let's do analog reflector. That's where we're going to have the most fun with the the internet browser. So you run these commands just like you normally would when you're doing anything with Linux. You're going to update, upgrade, and then you're going to apt install analog reflector. And notice the dash instead of the underscore. That's just the way it's named. So once that finishes installing, it's going to take a little bit. Then you're going to change directory, so CD into OPT and then analog reflector, underscore reflector. And then we're going to CD and change directory into the one called SSL. So basically what we're doing, we're going to make our own self-signed certificate files, because this is required to be ran in a secure browser. So like if you go to a website and you type in HTTP and you're like, oh, it doesn't work. Well, maybe there needs to be an S. So this is exactly what that is. It's secure, right? So you need to have certificates. Now, there's a document at the end that it's linked to. If you have your own, like let's say Let's Encrypt certificates, it kind of runs you how to do that instead if you have your own. But this is quick and dirty and gets the job done just doing it this way. So you run that command ./mkserv, so make search .sh. And that's going to run. It doesn't take very long to do a self-sign. Do we need to take a break, Nick? All right. So then we're going to CD back into, so out of that, so CD op analog reflector, or you can do a CD dash to go up a directory, or a dot I mean. So then we're going to run this command. And what this command is, it's the ./analog reflector user. This is where you're going to set your call sign, right? So you're creating a user, with your call sign, your DMR base ID, the same DMR ID with plus the same two numbers. I use 03. Then you're going to want to set a password. So when you log into your website that you're going to have your call sign and your password. Now, password's not 11. This I'm saying your password is whatever password you want. It could be, I don't know, I love ham radio, and that could be your password. And then 11, if you look at the document at the end that I'm going to link to, it basically, this 11 gives you system operation rights. It's sysops, right? You have total control of everything. Now, if you want to create a user, you can create users for your friends. Maybe they don't have a license, but they want to just listen. You can create a user where they could just listen. They can't transmit, which is cool, right? You want to show your buddies. And they can just kind of, they won't be able to tune anything. It's what they're going to listen to, whatever you're going to listen to at that point. But there's a document that's at the end will tell you what rights you have to give them. I don't recall off the top of my head because I never used it. So then you want to enable your analog reflector with that command, systemctl enable analog underscore reflector, and then you're going to start it with the systemctl start analog underscore reflector. Still good, Nick?
Yep.
All right, so then once that's done, you got to know what IP address that your Raspberry Pi or whatever your computer's running on that you install it on. So that's why it gives you an example of, you know, https://192.168, then whatever it could be. It could be 0.1, 0.50, it could be whatever. You have to know what that is. You're going to have to figure that out. But you should know because you just SSH'd into it. You should already know that, right? All right, so then you're going to enter your, it's going to pop up and it's going to default to what's called no call. That's what the default is. Someone could just listen to that. We want to erase that, put your call sign and then enter and the password that you just put in. And then next slide. So this is what it's going to look like, right? You're going to see this really cool client. It's got all the different modes. You can do YSF, DMR, P25, NXDN, technically D-Star, but I think you do need one of these to make that work. And as you can see in this example, we're connected to American Link. And you can see all these call signs, when they transmitted. Looks very similar to a Pi-Star dashboard if you've ever used that. You can click on the call sign and it brings up their QRZ. It's pretty neat. Usually there's a little picture underneath where it says mode. If they have a picture on QRZ, it'll populate that, which I think is cool. You can kind of see, sort of see who you're talking to if they upload a picture themselves, if they could upload a picture of their station or their favorite dog. I don't know, whatever they put on there. It's, you know, it's whatever they did. And then there's, of course, the settings. You've got your, you want to, if you're on a browser, you want to make sure whatever you're listening to, it could be laptop speakers, it could be headphones, just select whatever that is, and then whatever your microphone is, because obviously you need a microphone to talk. So you're going to have some. The laptops are easy because they usually have, you know, speakers and a mic already there. And then, of course, I didn't circle it, but if you actually want to hear and transmit, you got to click where it says audio, and there's a speaker with an X. You just click that, turns it on, and then you can hear. So I think that's pretty cool. So let's go to the next slide and take a short break. All right. Again, this is WG5EEK. So if you go to on the far right, it's managed. So if you have a bunch of users that you made or just yourself, you want to make sure that all these check boxes, the first two columns are checked, right? You want to be able to transmit and you want to be able to tune. And it scrolls down further down so you can see all the different modes, but I didn't put it in the slideshow. But you want to make sure that's selected, otherwise you're not really going to hear who you're talking to. And some of these might be auto muted. That's fine. You can unmute them. It's basically preventing users from bridging through a couple different modes they may not want to. It's just like a save yourself, you know, don't want to get in trouble, right? So that's what it looks like. I mean, and you can access that on your phone, you can use it on your tablet, you know, laptop, whatever, and you just talk to people, YSF, DMR, whatever, right from your browser, which I think is really cool. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so wow, we talked about all that stuff, right? But what if you're really into Allstar and you want to be able to transmit from your cheap radio that you have hooked up to Allstar to all these digital modes. So you're using an analog radio now to transmit on digital networks, which I think is cool, because who wants to spend $200-300 for a DMR radio and then $200-300 for a P25 radio, then $200-300, et cetera, right? Nobody wants to do that. Well, I just have this radio and I have an Allstar already set up. So we're going to kind of go over that. So we'll take another short break. All right, again, this is WG5EEK. So if you don't have what's called a private node set up, there's an example here. I put a link. Most people use 1999. Your system might have one 1998 installed already if you're familiar with Allstar, but this one's just 1999. And if you notice, like, you got to make sure that these, I highlighted these ports. You shouldn't change them, but if you've already installed and you've messed around and done something else, and you want to set them to what this is right here, the 34001 and 32001. But you can get an example of all the code that needs to go into your file here that says etc asterisk rpt.config. You want to put it below your current node, or you might have multiple nodes, but whichever node you want to put it in, just put it below your last node that you have. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so then we kind of have to have what's called the manager section set up. Basically, just make yours look like this. I didn't highlight anything, but it should look like this for the most part already. You just open it up and might have to add a password if you don't have a password. This allows Analog Reflector to control asterisk, basically. You know, it wants to be able to tune and transmit. You can transmit through Allstar from your browser. I didn't mention that. You can transmit to Allstar without the digital modes if you don't want, right from your browser. So you don't need a radio. You could just use Chrome, whatever. So let's go to the next slide. Take a quick break. All right, again, WG5EEK. So you got to enable this on line 128. It's just your USRP audio. You might have remembered that back when we had Analog Bridge opened up and it said USRP and we had ports. Well, this one is specifically for Allstar. You have to enable it if it's not already enabled. Most of the time, it's going to be disabled unless you've messed with Dvswitch before. So you just change it where it would normally say no load on line 128 to load. That's it. You just erase the no, save it, you're done. All right, next slide. All right, so then we're going to go back. That's pretty much all you have to do for Allstar. It's pretty simple. You copy paste the stuff, all right, the 1999. You save it. You go in manager, set a password. You go into was it modules? I think that's what it was. Wait, go back one. Make sure I get this terminology right. Yeah, modules. Yeah, okay, go forward. Yeah, make sure you have your module set up. We're done with Allstar. That's quick and dirty. Now we got to go back into this option analog reflector and then open up the analog reflector JSON file. This stuff is already there. The only thing you're gonna have to do is make sure your node number is right, your address is right. You can technically, if you have Allstar installed on a different system, you can put that IP address in there, but you would have to open, if it's not on your same network, you're gonna have to open that port 5038 that we kind of showed on the last one. And then you just make sure that these two ports match the same ports that we had on that 1999 node. Your username was admin, that was in the stanza of those square blocks, right, that we had on the manager configuration file. And then whatever your password is, you're gonna put there. So that's it. So you save that, and then you're gonna, let's go back, or I'm sorry, go forward a slide. Yeah, so most of the time when you add a node, you're not going to be able to connect to it. So you have to add these. I forgot about this. Yeah, so we got to go back into etc asterisk extensions, add these two lines I highlighted. They're not going to be there. So it's really simple to you could just type it out in that file, and then you want to save it. So next slide, we'll take a break. All right. Again, WG5EK. So that's it. Where you can either restart asterisk and you want to restart analog reflector. You can do all this stuff, or you can just reboot it and wait for it to come back up. That's usually easier than typing all these commands, you know. So once it's rebooted, now you're fully connected to analog reflector. Dvswitch is integrated, as well as your Allstar link. So you've got all this. You've got access to Allstar link nodes, you've got access to DMR, YSF, all that stuff. You can do it from your cheap phone, or not cheap phone, your cheap radio. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your laptop, all that stuff. So I've actually got mine connected to American Link. I don't know if maybe somebody in the crowd is connected to American Link, and we can, like David, we can see if we can hear you over my radio that's connected to YSF in an Allstar node. wasn't ready. That's okay. I kind of put him on the spot.
WG5 EEK. This is David, K6 WBY.
Yeah, you are loud and clear over Echolink.
You got to unmute Mike. KN60AL, right.
Yeah, no worries. WG5EEK. You don't even have to have a radio to talk on these digital modes. I could use my browser. That's the same thing, but now you're able to control your own server. You don't have to rely on, excuse me, other services that might go down. And yeah, it's pretty painless. I mean, that was like 19 slides. The 19th slide is an info slide on where to look up all this stuff if you want to know more. So 18 quick and easy slides with pictures. I think most people should be able to get through it. If not, we've got a Discord. I'm happy to help people. It's fun to help people get it set up. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, obviously we're going to open it up and yeah, just have some fun. Again, this is WG5EK.
All right, I just want to throw a comment out there. A lot of the presentation can seem kind of intimidating, especially if you've never even set up like an Allstar node before. But realistically, once you get involved in it, all of the line items, like what you said, pretty much line up and make pretty good sense. And the files are all there; they're easy to access if you just follow the tutorial. I posted in the YouTube comments, and I'll just throw out for anybody that's listening. If you're interested in finding out more information, or if you just want the tutorial to go through, join our Discord group, and we can get you the information that you need. And we could probably even sit down and walk you through some of it. I haven't done this yet on my build, and I'm going to here relatively soon. It's funny because we, Mike and I have both kind of watched the transition of how Allstar has integrated and Dvswitch has integrated all of these different features to what they do, and it's so open source that everybody's kind of twisting it their own way, and it's really cool to watch some of the things that were really challenging to do in the beginning become very user friendly. And so if you're looking for a really inexpensive way to get on digital modes and kind of integrate that into Allstar, then I would recommend taking a look at doing this, because it's pretty feature rich, and it's the first time I've seen anything with kind of a user interface platform that's point and click and user friendly. It does take some setup, but it's definitely worth the struggle to get it all going. So thank you very much for the presentation on that, and let's see if anybody has any questions on it or has anything that they want to clarify, and then we'll move on to see who else is out there. So if there's any questions for Mike, bring them on in now. All right, I'll relay a question for a friend of mine that's on YouTube. K7BLA had the question, to be clear, I can follow this guide to install this onto my existing Pi-based Allstar node, which is ham VoIP. And we discussed that a little bit before the anti-net started, but you want to answer that question, Mike?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, this is Mike here, WG5EEK. You cannot install it directly onto your ham VoIP. There might be ways to install it on a different system and then copy a bunch of files and do some magic. That's how I kind of got Dvswitch installed originally on ham VoIP. This is mainly set up, like again, I said, for Debian-based systems. So ham VoIP is running Arch Linux. It's not running Debian. But I do have a Pi 4 that's running the Raspbian OS or Raspberry Pi OS. I have a different analog reflector set up. I was able to see where at the very end we kind of showed like the ASL bridge. I just pointed that to my ham VoIP system with the IP address and the password that I use on that, and it works fine. So I set up everything I needed for Allstar on my ham VoIP side, right? I have everything else set up on a separate Pi. It could be a virtual machine. I ran this in a virtual machine, so you could set that up, and you can do that way. As far as installing it directly on ham VoIP, not at this time. I think they're working on it, but it's not just as easy as just follow these commands. You would have to do a lot of hard work. I'm not saying it's impossible. How much time do you want to spend on it? Because I could probably get it to work, but it's going to take me several weeks. The question says, I have ASL also running in a VM. So that works. Yeah, you could do all this in your VM, your virtual machine. I think that's a great way to do it, because then it doesn't take up another computer. It's running on a computer that you already have or in the cloud. So yeah, that'd be the way to do it. This is WG5EEK.
All right, thanks for that, Mike. Nick, KN60AL. We also got Greg in the house. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you on YouTube. So his question was, isn't there an image out there that installs Allstar and Dvswitch, which is not the ham VoIP version? And I don't know the answer to that, but you do, Mike.
Yes, yeah, there is. The reason that I don't like it is because most of the guides that you find out there are how to set up for that non-integrated system. And so some of the stuff that you have to set up, let's say if you want to set up Supermon, it's not running, at least the last time I installed it, it's not running the Apache server. It's running like NGI, what is it, Nginx or I don't know, NGIX or whatever, some other, or light TTPD. It's running a different server, and the commands that you need to create a password for doesn't work. Just doesn't work. So you have to do the whole let's install Apache and swap over. It's a pain. I don't like it. This is just easier. What I did, I downloaded the ASL beta, right? That's out there. It's beta 6. And yeah, it's what, 18 slides? It's way easier. It's step by step. That's what I do.
All right, let's see. Any other questions on the air before we move on to see if we got any other check-ins? Any other questions for Mike? Come on in now. All right, we'll take a couple call-outs and see who else we got on the air tonight. We got quite a few people in the chat, too. We'll see if we can hear from them. Is there any stations that want to check in to the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net just to say hi? Come on in now.
Kilo Juliet 7, Juliet X-Ray Mike, Robert in Arlington, Washington.
KJ7JX JKM. It's good to hear you, man. I think this is the first time we've heard you on the Anti-Net.
I do believe so. I've just been playing around with the Clear Node and trying to find out new sources to get involved with. So having lots of fun playing with Allstar, and just really enjoying the fact that it doesn't matter what radio I got floating around, it can work with the Clear Node. So I missed a tremendous amount of the net tonight, but I was playing in the background, and I definitely wanted to get in and say hi and just and see if I can't try to make this part of my Wednesday routine, per se. So yeah, just stopping by to say hi and rock and roll, everybody. KJ7JXM Robert here.
All right, thanks for checking in with us, Robert. We appreciate having you out here. Yeah, most nights we just kind of hang around and nerd out on radio stuff, and every once in a while we pull in an expert. And tonight we got Mike, WG5EEK here. He's our local digital expert when it comes to some of these things, and he's always been a huge help. So definitely go back and watch the beginning of it, because there's a lot of information that can kind of point you down some different directions as far as getting some digital mode set up. So thanks for checking in with us. This is Nick, KN6DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We're looking for any and all check-ins. Come on in now. Anybody get that? All right, we heard a break on a repeater.
Tom at Auburn.
Oh, I doubled with you. The Auburn station. Come on in again.
Kilo Bravo 6, Sierra November, Tom and Auburn.
Tom, thanks for checking in with us tonight. How are you doing?
Very well. I just turned the radio on a little bit ago, and I hit scan to see if there was anything interesting to listen to on the radio, and it stopped on you.
Maybe, I don't know if you're making me blush or if I'm just flushed because it's 90.5 degrees in my shack right now. But I appreciate you stopping by and saying hi. Yeah, we're just we're doing a live stream right now. We're live on air through multiple different digital connections, and we're linked to lots of different repeaters tonight. It's being live streamed at Northwest Ham Shack, and there was a presentation earlier on how to set up a Dvswitch analog reflector, which is a super cool feature that you can set up on a Raspberry Pi if you're interested. You can always go back and check that out. But thanks for checking in with us, and we appreciate you coming out tonight.
Well, doggone it, it sounds like I missed all the fun. What can you do? You know, day late and a dollar short. Story of my life. Well, maybe I'll be lucky enough to catch you earlier in the net next time. And thank you so much for a gracious welcome. And I hope everyone on your large network there tonight has a good time. And, yeah, you know you're doing ham radio right if you're having fun. So there you go. KB6 SSN 73.
Yep, thanks for checking in. Have a good night, 7-3. This is Nick, KN6DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We got a couple people in the chat here. You know, Bert, he's kind of like always like a little bit late and super quiet, so I'm calling on you first, man. N6EFR, how you doing tonight? How's the week been?
Hey, Nick, KN6DAL, this is N6EFR. Yeah, I just got in. I missed a lot of it, and like I want to know really, does this work on iOS? Does this work on this Pi Zero that I have? Will it work on not on that? No, okay. And then I do have a Raspberry Pi, so hopefully I can get that to work. And some computer that's probably around, just laying around, probably somewhere over here, probably get to work on that. But yeah, just been working on more and more CW and this and that in the car, just listening for on the commute home and the commute to work. So it's just been going on with that.
Cool, man.
EFR.
Yeah, as far as the Raspberry Pi Zero, I don't think it has the computing power. I would imagine the Pi Zero 2 would probably be able to pull it off, but it would be pretty slow to load the web interface, I would think. But it would probably work. I know that the Pi Zero would not function for my hotspot when I put the overlay on. What was the name of that, Mike? Do you remember?
No, I can't remember. I got rid of it because it was kind of buggy, so I went back to the standard.
Yeah, I love that that interface, but so I haven't experienced really any bugs with it yet, but we can go into that another night. But I had to upgrade.
I think it was my SD card, so I should give it another shot.
I think that the Pi Zero 2 would probably work with this if you can find one. Good luck with that because they're really hard to come by. But anyway, KN6DAL, thank you, Bert, for checking in with us tonight, and I'm glad to hear you're out there trying to learn more about CW because I seem to catch waves on that. Like I get into a mode where I'm learning and learning and learning, and then I just kind of like stop. I don't know what it is other than my short attention span. It's hard, but keep going at it. You're going to beat me to it. I can already tell.
Try.
All right, KN6 DAL with the 2-meter crew anti-net. Let's see what Dan's got to say. N6 ETR. How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, how you doing, everyone? KN6DAL in the group, N6CTR. Mike, thank you very much for the presentation. Your slides are awesome. Nick showed me some digital on field day, and he kind of piqued my interest. So I'm really looking forward to referring back to your slides to get set up. Can you remind me what you said? You start off with a pretty cheap handheld if I wanted to dive in.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to do it with Allstar. I know Nick was using what's it, the 888, the Baofeng 888S. Is that what you used?
That was the first node I had set up. Yeah.
You can buy these. These are called Rim Light repeater builder, and they come with a serial port, which is really cool. So you can get the other end comes with it, and you can wire in. And there's guides on the internet, or maybe Nick can help you because he's done that mod with the Baofeng, and you can hook in to, what do you call it? The radio, right? You got to solder some points on. What I done, one of my radios that I've used, I got one of those, it's a BTEC 25x2 or 25x4. You can get the QIT version, pretty cheap. They're less than $100 if you get those routes. And I posted on the Discord a while back, the pinout, the breakout on how to hook it up to one of these. You cut an Ethernet cable and you solder it onto the serial port, and then you plug and play with one menu change on the radio. It's just like menu 51. You change it to basically where it's detecting the COR, right? Carrier on receive, and then that's the easiest route without breaking open your radio. You just cut an Ethernet cable, right? That's one of the easier ways to do it. You don't necessarily need a radio to get on Allstar. You could use this website interface that we just went over, right? It'll transmit on Allstar, right? You don't have to use a digital mode, so I think that's cool too. It's all in one, it's one spot, one shop. It's easy. But yeah, so you can use, like Bird asked, can I use a Raspberry Pi 1? No. 0, 2, yeah, people have done it. Raspberry Pi 2, maybe. 3, yes. 4, obviously, yes. An old computer. I have it running on a Dell Wise thin client right now, they're pretty cheap on eBay right now. You can find them usually with the power supply. Sometimes you got to buy the $10 power supply separate, but I got my set up for it was like 30 or $40 shipped. It's pretty cheap. It's hard to find a Raspberry Pi now because they're so expensive. You're like Nick was saying, good luck finding a Pi 02. They're like, you want to buy one used, they're like over $100. And I think that's just a ripoff. So thin client, old laptop, something sitting around, virtual machine, that's free, there's lots of ways to do it. So yeah, Dan, if you need help later, hit me up, but there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with this. And this is just one ham radio project. I know there's been presentations before where you can do lots of things. There's pre-built images with so many different, things set up. If you're into packet, if you're into APRS, if you're into whatever, they got a clock. You can have a display, and you can do it like one of those solar clocks. It's really cool. There's so many projects with ham radio that I never even dreamed there would be. I just thought I was going to talk on a radio, and that's it. No, there's everything. It's so fun. But yeah, if you have any more questions, let me know. WG5EEK.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I'll be sure to hit you up. I've got some of those radios written down here on the notepad, so I might order myself one.
Cool.
But otherwise, ham radio. I don't know if you guys have been participating in the nets for W6 VVR lately, but we're starting to do HF after the net. I actually hopped on 40 meters, talked to Art and Frank and Dave all here in town, and we all collectively spoke with a few folks in Montana, Long Beach. So if you guys are interested in doing 40 meters after the weekly net, I encourage you to check it out. I just wanted to let you know that was going on. So N6CTR, back to you, Nick.
All right. Thanks, Dan. This is Nick, KN6DAL. We had someone trying to check in via RF, I believe. It was KN6PRD. KN6PRD. If you're out there, come on in. I heard you break break the repeater, but I didn't hear any audio. We'll give it one more shot. I believe it's Alpha KN6 PRD. If you can hear us, come on in now. Is anybody in RF range of the repeater? May hear it? No. I mean, it shouldn't make a difference. He's not coming in. All right, we're just not able to make you out on that. But if you want to wait a little bit before we shut it down, you can try it one more time, maybe get into a little bit better location or climb a mountain and then make the contact. I'm just kidding. But try it again here in a little bit. This is Nick, KN6 DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We're looking for any and all check-ins. Any stations that want to check in, come on in now.
Yeah, this is Whiskey 5 Golf Sierra Whiskey out in Apex, North Carolina. How's it going, 2 Meter Crew?
Holy moly, we got Greg in the house. What's going on, buddy? How have you been?
I've been good, Nick. Thanks for asking, man. I was just sitting in bed and watching the show tonight. Just wanted to say excellent presentation there, Mike. Great information. I am definitely going to put this on my Rock 64. I've got my YSF node and Dvswitch already installed. I've just got to do some network pinholes in my firewall out here, but I'm definitely going to give that a shot. Just wanted to call in and say hi to everybody. Great to see everybody on the tubes, and I will talk to y'all later. W5GSW.
All right.
Greg. Good to hear you, Greg, man. I want to say just real quick, Greg's a good friend. He's amazing, just like everybody here in this group. But he moved away for everybody, and so it's like I love talking to the guy. I don't get to talk to him enough. He mentioned the Rock 64. For you, those of you that don't know what that is, it's another single board chip, just like a Raspberry Pi. Back when I lived in California, for some reason, Amazon was selling these things with a case for like, I don't know, 11, 12 bucks. And they normally go for like near $100, you know, and they were getting rid of them because they were loaded with this security software, but you just take the SD card out, flash, you know, a Debian on there and put it back in. And now you've got a nice single board chip that actually, in certain cases, outperformed the Raspberry Pi 4 for $11. Hard to beat that, right? So if you find a Rock 64, can't really do Allstar on it because they haven't written it for that. But if you're just doing all these other ham-based stuff, yeah, it works really well. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, cool. And thanks for checking in with us, Greg. We always appreciate having you out here, man. Don't be a stranger. Hey, just a comment on that from the gentleman that was trying to check in that wasn't making it in. He's trying to come in. He's breaking the repeater from West Sacramento with an HT with the ID 52. So hey, if you can get in a little better location, man, give it another shot because it maybe in 5 or 10 minutes because we want to make that contact, man. You're really pushing to try to hit the repeater. That's cool.
Go jump on your roof or something.
Yeah. Go get a ladder, climb your roof, and then don't fall. And if you do, get pictures. This is Nick, KN6 DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We got another couple people in the chat. We got Dave, K6WBY. How are you doing tonight, man?
KN6 DAL. This is Dave, K6WBY. Doing great. That was a great presentation. Really enjoyed that. And in some of the screenshots, I was realizing how close the actual interface is once you get it going to what's provided with the interface to my OpenSpot 3. So some cool stuff. And I actually learned some stuff about how my OpenSpot works as well. So that was really cool. Thanks again for that. I'm excited. I'm the new owner of a DX Commander. It's still in the box. I haven't, it showed up this week. It wasn't supposed to be here till tomorrow, but it actually showed up on Monday. But got to experience the setup and the operation of that antenna over the last weekend before last, and was just really impressed with the whole system, how it comes together. I've been using the buddy pole system for HF in the past, and however I could get my buddy pole up in less time if I wanted to move to one end of the band or another, or change bands, or tweak the antenna in some way. It was a lot of up and down and fussing with it. And that DX Commander, it's set it up one time and you're done. And the gentleman that is normally represented here, which chose not to show up tonight, was just pounding into Florida, within a few minutes of getting the thing up, from Northern California here. And later in the evening got into Australia, just, no problem. So really fun experience. Big week in ham radio for me, even though I haven't turned on my HF rig in a couple of months, it seems like at this point. But really excited to kind of learn and see some more things, and really excited to get that DX Commander project going and built. And just having that really small portable package for packing in the truck when I want to go somewhere, and setting up and just having access to all bands at the flip of a switch.
Yeah, that's super cool. And one thing I noticed in your talk, I really appreciate you not outing Servando K6SRV for not showing up tonight. That was really cool of you. So yeah, anyway, this is Nick, KN6DA with the 2-meter crew anti-net. We're having too much fun over here. Any other stations want to check in with us before we turn it over to our normal operation? We'll be hanging out on the Zoom chat here for a little bit. But let's take some last calls for any RF or digital mode check-ins want to come on in. Come on in now. Some key.
4X2 Victor from the Philippines.
Anybody get that?
No.
All right, we heard a station in there. Very low audio. I'll leave a long pause if you want to try one more time.
F2 Victor, 4 Foxtrot 2 Victor from Santiago City, Philippines.
All right, I think I got 4 Foxtrot 2 Victor from the Philippines. Is that correct? That was a partial call.
Yeah, yourself. My name is Rolly. 4 Foxtrot 2 Victor. This is my first time just joining the net with no other traffic. So my voice or my audio is hello. Audio check. Go ahead. You're right. I'm from the Philippines.
All right, I got you checked in here. 4F2 Victor from the Philippines, Raleigh. I appreciate you checking in with us tonight. Your audio is a little bit broken up. Are you coming in through? I see that you're linked up to Freestar. Are you coming in through Echolink, or how are you connecting to us tonight?
Yeah, I'm using by RF, using Baofeng UB82, then going to my simple repeater, connecting to Freestar Filipino. Go ahead.
Okay, that last transmission sounded much, much better. Yeah, I can hear you good. I appreciate you checking in with us. We are here every Wednesday night, which I don't know exactly what time it is in your area. It's probably Thursday morning at some time, your time, but we meet around this time every week, and this is the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We just all like to hang out and have a good time and enjoy the conversation. What are you doing on this fine day? Back to you.
For Fox 2, Victor. Full time here is 12 p.m. in the afternoon. Thursday. I'm washing my clothes. Day. Yeah. Okay, right. I will check in next time. Then I'm on Freestar Filipino. I heard that my node is connected here, so I heard there's a net, so I connect the Freestar Filipino 55356. Okay, thank you, and have a nice day. From 4 Fox 2, Victor, from the Philippines.
All right, 7-3, and thank you for checking in with us. 7-3 to you. This is Nick, KN6DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. Let's take one last chance at Alf here. KN6PRD, are you in a better spot? Can you break the repeater now?
November 6, Papa Romeo Delta, just stepped outside.
Okay, you're a little broken, but I can hear you. You made it. That's a long shot with an HT. Are you connected to just what kind of antenna are you running on it?
Basic, well, not so much basic, but just a diamond antenna slaps onto the HT here. Nothing fancy.
Yeah, that's a good haul. I haven't lived down there in a while, but that's got to be 80 miles, something like that. 70 miles? Less? 50? That's still, to be down in West Sac, that's pretty good. So I was in Roseville, and I was fighting like heck to break all the repeaters over on the hills over there. So it's good to hear from you. Thanks for checking in with us.
Yeah, no, definitely a bit of a travel. I'm on 5 watts, I think, at full tilt. I think I'm getting K6 VVR, correct? Is that the W6 VVR? That's the repeater name, right?
QSL, yeah, you're coming through the W6 VVR repeater.
Awesome. Yeah, I was following you guys on the YouTube, and I was like, oh, look, let's see if I can get on the RF real quick. I'm standing to the edge, the southwest corner of the Burger and Brew restaurant here in West Sacramento. I was having a brew and a beer with my lady friend here, my XYL, and I was busy watching the YouTube while listening to you gentlemen and the net. And meanwhile, she was reading her book. So we were just kind of doing our own thing, and I figured, hey, see if I can, connect with you guys for a bit.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty cool date here. Okay, let's lay this out for a minute. You're out eating dinner, having a brewski, just relaxing, watching YouTube, talking on the radio. I wish I could pull that off. I just don't think I'd be allowed to. I think that's admirable mention for you. Well, we are here every Wednesday night. We're here at 8 o'clock. Sometimes we have a topic discussion. Sometimes we just jump in and have a random question, and it's always something different. So you're welcome to join us anytime, and thanks for checking in with us.
Sure, yeah, it's a pleasure meeting all you guys and listening to you guys' chit-chat there. So 7 days back to net, man.
All right, this is Nick, KN6DAL with the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net. We're winding it down pretty quick here. We'll take one last call out for check-ins. Anybody that wants to check in before we turn the repeaters back over, come on in now.
VK2DY.
Anybody catch that? TDY? All right, I got the suffix. I got TDY if you want to come back again.
Yes, Victor Kilo 2, Delta Yankee.
Okay, I think it was VK2DY. I think that's Robert in Sydney, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. Come back.
Yep, that is. This is Robert Kilo 2, Delta Yankee. I usually give a tagline of Kellyville Ridge, New South Wales, but all part of the urban sprawl that is Sydney.
All right, how you doing tonight? You have a little bit of digital breakup tonight, but you usually come in loud and clear, which is really weird. So I don't know what's going on there. But how's things going over there? Back to you.
Yeah, I've switched over to another service here. Might have been the connection I had. I'm doing fine. It's, what is it? It's about 19 degrees. So beautiful winter's day here. It's hard to call this winter, though. Sun is shining, sky is blue. It's a little after 2 in the afternoon here. Just doing a little cleaning of the garage, actually, is what I'm doing at the moment. And I was listening to your net. Really appreciate it. I've played with Dvswitch, but now I hear that it sounds like they fixed some of the issues back when I was playing with it. It was really confusing. So I'm going to try bringing Dvswitch back up again. Thank you again for taking my check-in, DK2DY. Back to net.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and thanks for checking in. This is Nick, KN6DAL. Last call for check-ins. Anybody that wants to check into the 2-meter crew anti-net, come on in now. Dun, dun, dun.
6 Sierra, Papa Bravo.
All right, I got the suffix. It was Sierra Papa Bravo. Leave just a little bit of room before you say your whole call sign. But how you doing tonight?
Okay, there we go. Let's try that. November 6 Sierra Papa Bravo N6 SQB Scott in San Jose, doing well. I keep trying to check in every few weeks, and I keep seeming to have issues with my hotspot, but I've been working on tweaking things up, and I think it's working okay right now. But anyways, interesting topic. Yeah, I love to hear the geek speak. It's good stuff. Thank you guys so much for doing this, and I'll try to be a little more regular if I can keep the radio working here.
Yeah, Scott, your connection actually sounds really good right now. It sounds super crisp and clear. Probably one of the better digital connections that I've heard tonight. So whatever you're doing, it's working there. So thank you for checking in with us. And yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Sometimes there's a topic. Sometimes it's just us hanging out, making fools of ourselves and having fun. So again, appreciate you checking in. We'll say 7-3 and. Last call again. Let's see if we've got any other check-ins. Last call before we shut her down. Come on in now. All right. I didn't hear anything that time. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight on the repeaters and through the digital connections. We appreciate you keeping ham radio alive. Keep in mind, we're here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you're always welcome to check back in. You can get more information if you check out our YouTube at Northwest Ham Shack. There is, in all of the video descriptions, there's links to our Discord and our landing website if you're trying to find out more information how to get connected. So if you're interested in finding more information out, check that out, and we hope to hear you all next week. With that, I'm going to turn all the digital connections and repeaters back to their normal operations, and we will be hanging out here on our Zoom chat for a little bit. There is a link in the YouTube chat box to join the Zoom chat if you're interested, so you can do that at any time. So we will say 7-3 to all, and have a good night. I thought we were going to take check-ins until 10. Last check-in, last check-in, last check-in.
Yeah, that's great, though. I like it.
Yeah, it was fun. All right. Do you know if there? Hey, Mike, do you know if there's a timer or a like a no connection or no transmission timer on Allstar for VVR?
I don't know if Brian set one up. I don't know what it is. I think he. I think I know I have it set up for like 10 minutes on the All-Star side, but I don't know what his radio is set up. You know, the radio itself, it has a separate timeout timer.
Well, because I'll oftentimes just leave my my DMR and my YSF link connected, and just leave VVR connected.
Oh,
but almost every week I come back and it's disconnected.
Yeah, that was happening to me too. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, I just check it throughout the day, and I just make sure that I'm still connected.
And it's not a big deal. I just figured if anybody like lands on the on a YouTube video and then checks out one of the links, and they're like, oh hey, I got YSF or I got DMR, and they try to connect. If I don't have it linked to something, I mean, it's still live. I still have it up and running, but then it's just an empty room unless somebody else is talking on it. But if I leave it connected to VVR, then they might stand a chance of making a contact with somebody or testing something out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I wanted to plug, like, I don't know if you knew this, like every Thursday now, VVR is doing what's called a Cowtown call-in at 10:30. Yeah, so I got to listen to that. I was driving in a very spotty cell phone coverage area here in Arkansas. And I was listening on the scanner radio app that I have, because we stream it on Radio Reference. We get the repeaters on that, so I can pick that up wherever I'm at and just listen. But it wasn't enough for me to connect and talk because it kept cutting in and out. But I was able to. There were some really cool conversations going on, and I thought that was awesome. The repeater is there, but if no one talks on it, it might as well not be. So it was cool to hear all these people chime in and start talking. I heard, Brian was hosting, and then I heard Art, and I heard Bruce, and I heard some other people, and it was like, this is cool, man. Like they're just having a nice chat. I thought it was great.
I might have to check that out.
I tried to get on there on Thursday, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday at 10 Pacific time. Yeah, 10:30.
I was at work, and I was trying to connect through Echolink, and I just couldn't connect through it on my phone. I was just like, kept trying to connect, and it just wouldn't connect. I was like,
yeah. So the way I do Echolink is if you open it and then immediately try to connect, it's never going to work. You got to give it a good 15-20 seconds to get in the server. And then I actually have it you can change it to where it's either a relay or a direct connection. You can cycle through those, and that helps too. So you change it to like relay if you're on direct, close it, open it back up, wait for like 20 seconds, then try to connect, or the opposite. And that I've never had an issue if I just wait. A lot of people open up, I want to connect now. It's like, nope, connection refused. But you gotta wait for your node information, because it's an Echolink node. Your phone is to populate in the system. Say, yeah, this person's real. Now let me connect to wherever. So you just gotta wait. We're in a digital world. We want to connect immediately. We gotta wait. Yeah, I found that out in a forum. I tested it. It's like, this works every time now. So.
Yeah. Because it was weird. It was like, so I tried it again, like on yesterday's net with the club net, and I was like, oh, that's working on there. So I was like,
Yeah.
Maybe it's just something happened at work, or maybe I'm just not
It could be.
well on the phone or something like that. Yeah, too bad I didn't get a chance to hear any of it, so I was like, oh, all right.
Well, if you want, like I said, it's on the radio reference, and I have the Scanner Radio app on my phone, and you can listen to it from your phone. You might not be able to. Obviously you can't transmit that way, but it is on Broadcastify Radio Reference, same company, and you can listen to it that way.
All right, check it out then.
Yep.
I'll be at work.
Yeah, I'll be driving somewhere, so yeah.
I have a formal complaint against China right now. So I have this cheap little swamp cooler, right?
Oh yeah.
And the batteries just died on me. I don't know, like 3 minutes into the anti-net.
That sucks.
There was nothing I could do about it, and it's now 91.2 degrees and rising in the shack.
Dude, that's too hot.
And so I'm sitting here thinking, what can I do? I've got all these different things. I have a way to run power to this thing because it's got a power supply, right? So for those of you that are aware of that round power supply right there, that's a 12-volt barrel connector. Okay,
nice.
It's for 12 volts.
What amps?
It's it's rated at a 5 watt or at 5 volts. Who has a barrel connector for 5 volts? Everything is 12 volts.
But what's the amps?
It's 1 amp.
So that's a USB. A regular USB is 5 volts, 1 amp.
But it's a barrel. It's not. I don't have a. If it was a micro USB connector, that would make sense.
Well, just open it up and solder it, man.
Probably like an $8 thing. I don't even know how much it costs. It's probably like nothing.
Yeah.
And now the ice is all melted, so it's worthless. It's just gonna blow hot, wet air on me.
Well, we have one similar to that, and it runs off of actual USB power. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one, I mean, if it's just the connector that doesn't make any sense. You know, if anybody else was designing that, it would be a micro or a USB-C or it would be a 12-volt supply. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna plug it right into this battery. In fact, I might plug it into a 12-volt battery and just see what it does in a minute.
Blow it up.
Yeah.
Yes. Let all the magic smoke out.
Yeah. The only thing it's running is a fan. I could just put a 12-volt fan in it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really get cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the guys here, I was talking about those thin clients. Like that's like a hidden gem. You know, Raspberry Pis are like impossible to find or use, and they're like over $100. And it's like this is dumb. So I got this. It's a Dell Wise. I don't remember what. Hang on. I got the model number. Dell Wise 790 D7 or something like that. And it was $30. And then I had to buy a power supply for $10. And they both showed up the same day. Thank you, eBay and Postal Service. And yeah, it was from Alabama. And I had some medical like terminal on there. I was like, nope. And I just downloaded the ASL beta, put it on a thumb drive. And I plugged it in, and then I got to the BIOS, and it was like, BIOS is password protected. I'm like, great. You know, so I looked up, like, yeah, on a lot of normal computers, there's a little reset you can hit. Not really with these. There's a way to do it, but it's very difficult. But the default password for all those was like Fireport with a capital F. Type that in. Yeah, unlocked it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go change this now. So I just changed it to where there's no password in the BIOS. Then I enabled boot from USB. Plugged the USB back in, booted from that, installed Allstar Link, and yeah, it's running great.
That's awesome.
Did you say you could load a I'm trying to think of what the client is in a server where you partition off part of the computer to run
virtual
this
machine?
like a virtual machine on any computer to set that up?
Yeah, exactly. So I have a Windows 10 laptop, right, and I got the VM player that's free, right? And then you just download the ISO image for like an i386 AMD 64 image, right? A normal Intel or AMD processor image. Then you load that up, and it just like any other operating system, it installs to whatever size fake partition that you made a file, and then yeah, you can run it just like that. And then when you're done with it, you can just pause it or shut it down. And yeah, it's just like a normal piece of computer, which is really awesome. I mean, people run these things in the cloud all the time. You can get really cheap deals. If you don't want to do that, you can set up. The cool thing about some of the stuff in the cloud for those servers, if you make a mistake, they usually have like backups. Like every few minutes, you just back up and your backup would run in a few minutes. So you don't have to worry about making another backup. It backs up automatically. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And then maybe the part that I missed in that presentation was about how do you get, because you came in over your radio over RF, right?
Mm-hmm.
To what were you connected to the computer? Was that little USB?
No, so in my garage, I have that same computer is running Allstar and Analog Reflector, all that. It's all bridged together. So I have, well, where'd I put it? One of these, right? It's a rim light. You get them for like $50 on Repeater Builder, and you wire it up to a radio. So I have an old, it's a Motorola SM50, 20 watt, what is it? VHF, but they have UHF too. And then I have that hooked up to that thin client. That's where my RF is. You know, it's going into a commercial radio that I got 4 of them on eBay for $100, right?
So the serial port goes to the computer.
Nope.
And then you're soldering off of the board.
The serial port goes to the radio. They have some for those like MaxTrack, GM300, SM50, that style. They have one that plugs directly into the back of the radio because it has 16 pin. You got to get the one with a 16 pin. You also have to get the programming cable and the software because you have to enable a certain pin to have the COR on it, the carrier on receive. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do if you don't already have all that stuff set up. That's what I was telling Dan. You can go buy a BTEC or a QIT, I think it's 8900 or 7900 radio, the equivalent, and it plugs directly in. You know, I mean, you'd have to wire an Ethernet cable that hooks to this. The other end plugs into the mic port. You enable a menu setting, and it enables the COR. Then you plug the other end of this into the USB, and that goes to the computer. So it's like a daisy chain, but there's a whole bunch of documents out there how to set up Allstar. There's a million different ways to do it.
The easiest way is basically a computer of some sort, like either a Raspberry Pi or like a donor computer like Mike had just described. And you can get that sometimes you can get them for free, right? I mean, if you look hard enough, you can find just a base, bare bones 15-year-old computer that would work for next to nothing.
I have computers.
Yeah, and you've got the setup for that, right? The easiest way is an $80 radio. The cheapest way is a $20 radio, or I think Baofeng 888s are 2 for $20.
2 for $20 on Amazon.
Yeah. The cheaper of those is a little bit more integrated because you have to take the case off of the 888 and solder a couple of components, and you don't have the power output, right? With the $80 radio, you have basically 25 watts if you really wanted to of power, and that's going to extend your range with the right antenna, you know? So you could actually be operating DMR in and around, you know, maybe a 20-mile area around your house under the right circumstances. And then the most expensive component could be just that rim light, and they're $50. So everything else you can get for pretty much dirt cheap, and get yourself off and running. And then yeah, you can just use a cheap radio instead of buying, you know, you would spend all of what you were going to spend on the whole project on just the radio portion of a digital radio. Right. And then you would still be left with how are you going to connect unless you're near a DMR repeater or something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the benefit of it.
Just a quick side note. Did you see that link that I posted in the chat?
Yeah, I was going to screen share that. Do you want to talk about it really quick?
I've read through the whole article and I decided I'm going to do this. And I put that project on the shelf and saved the link. But, you know, essentially, you know, solar powered APRS digipeater out of parts and pieces. So a pretty cool project. And the guy gives you know, basically every bit of the step-by-step instructions that you need to make this all work and get it all set up out of essentially, you know, used gear. And I mean, you don't need a cabinet like that, but I mean, you can set this up anywhere. So I've been kind of looking for, you know, maybe to do one of these projects in the future once I get kind of some other stuff figured out here. But pretty cool. If grab the link and save it and go back and read the whole darn thing, you know, when you have time. But pretty well outlined, written article about how to build one of these things and make it kind of self-sustaining. So when you want to set up a digipeater somewhere in between A and B, you can do that yourself with this.
Use of a old Radio Shack VHF radio.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and you know, you can probably swap a couple of parts in here if you had a different, you know, radio that you wanted to use, or, you know, something else. I don't think it's not super specific, you know, but there's a couple of important parts, but it's kind of the list of just everything that you need, and lots of it is stuff you can just find at any you know, swap or stuff you might already have laying around. There's just a few important components that are pretty inexpensive. I don't have good APRS near the house, you know, further to the south, further to the north. There's pretty good coverage, but right here, it's very difficult. I can get it pretty well with my, even with my 50-watt radio in my truck. If my truck in the backyard does not work, never works. Drive it, you know, 75 feet to the street, and it works every time. So the coverage is kind of that spotty here. Just depends on exactly where you're at. But anyhow,
that's cool.
Grab that link and save it for later.
I posted it on YouTube, so if anybody doesn't get it, it'll be there.
Cool. Well, that's all I had to contribute. Other than that DX Commander, which was pretty cool. It was fun watching that go up and watching Servando put that thing up. It was so much easier. I've seen hundreds of videos and etc. It was so much easier and lighter and easier to pack and transport than I expected. And you know, once it was operating, you know, like I said, with the buddy pole, you know, if you want to change bands, like, it could be a half-hour commitment to changing bands. You know, even if you have your antenna fairly well suited, the surrounding environment affects the performance of the antenna and the tune so significantly. And that DX Commander was just one time set it and forget it kind of setup. It's just assembly and operate.
Sweet. We got dude Stryker General now, bud. Congrats, man.
Thanks.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Happy I finally did it.
So, yeah, what radio are you using for HF?
So I have a 7300. I've had it for a few now, but I really only listened with it, and I have a really compromised antenna just kind of thrown up over the shack right now. But now that connection transmit, I'm going to be a little bit more focused on getting something more official up in the air that I can actually put some power into.
Okay. So are you just trying to run like a 9-to-1 or a 49-to-1? What are you looking at doing?
I'm looking at doing a 9-to-1. So I actually picked up manual tuner at the Mike and Key Ham Fest here back in March. And that's probably going to be my easiest, cheapest antenna to put up right now. But I think what I'm looking at right now is I have a couple of trees that are pretty tall, doing a doublet eventually.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the cheapest antenna you can do is just running a piece of coax into a dipole and connecting it, and telling everybody else's theory to piss off and get on the air and talk, and you'll do just fine. But
as long as the viewer's happy, and it works, right?
Yeah. If it's yours and you get it in the air and it works, you're good to go. I mean, I think every single person that has operated on HF has gone through antenna after antenna after antenna after antenna before they finally find the one that they're like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And the antenna that I'm currently running is the design was originally, I guess, given to me from N6VLF, and he just kind of walked me through the idea, just talking through it, and it was kind of based on how he had it set up, and it's just kind of your standard fan dipole. Everything's handmade, but I needed something that could not be seen, right, which wasn't really visible, and so I've managed to erect a basically 25-foot 3-band fan dipole that you can't even see the wires on it, and it performs well. Like it typically will hear better than it can talk, so that's good. But it definitely leaves there. I mean, there's more to do in Nick's setup, but there's always more to do. But just get on the air, man. Get something up there and try it. And if it doesn't work, I mean, it's all learning experience, and then you can at least go back to it and say, yeah, that didn't work worth a crap, and this one did work better, or this I can hear everything but I can't talk at all, and you'll get through it. But I'm excited for you, man. That's awesome. Super cool.
I'm excited too.
But you're on our Discord, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Send a message to me when you get something set up if you want to try it. I'm usually kind of that 9 to 10 o'clock hour. I'm usually fairly free, and I can at least jump out in the shack and tune up and at least try, and we can see if we can get you on the air.
Sounds good.
Cool, man.
Yeah, when I get the DX Commander set up, we can try.
Yeah.
California as well, which might be a little bit easier on 40 for you from up there.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for us because we're literally like right in that shadow zone where not much works. I've talked to people on 80 meters just through ground wave on like down into like Aberdeen and Centralia and stuff. But you got to run power, and it's not easy to do because your signal's trying to go up. It's trying to hit the ionosphere, and it's trying to bounce down in places like California. And so you're going to find that you're not going to talk to that many people local. You're going to talk to people really far away. And then depending on the antenna you make will change that range of where you talk and like where you hear. You know, you might hear people really good in Alaska and California, but you don't hear anybody on the west or on the East Coast or into the central part of the U.S. Or you might find that like every other night you hear Japan all the time, you know, but you don't ever hear Alaska and you don't ever hear California, and it's just, it depends on how you set things up and what antenna it is.
I was looking into doing an NVIS antenna. I actually have a nice straight strip next to the shack that's going to be a pretty short coax length.
Yeah.
And I was hoping I could get away with 75 ohm coax just because that's such a short run.
So that's another great one.
Kevin N6V11 made a whole presentation about how to get the exact length that you need cut for whatever wavelength, whatever band you're going to be transmitting on. So I'd recommend looking on that. I don't know if it's on this channel
it's on Jason's channel, Ham Radio TV.
Ham Radio TV, yeah, he did really good. Yeah. It was really cool how he broke it down. Yeah.
So if you want to know how to use 75 ohm coax to do anything you want, go watch that video. I don't know if I have the energy to try to find it. He's got hundreds of videos out there, but
so many.
But Kevin does. It's so cool, and he sat with me, and I think Mike, you might have been in on that. We were all talking about it, and he just talked us through it on how to do it, and then Kevin actually sent me a length of 75 ohm coax, and he's like, "Here, test this out." You'd be surprised there if you want to be really cheap. you can spend like a quarter of the price on coax and build a way better antenna if you just cut the antenna length right. You just got to be willing to cut the coax length the correct length, and it's just there's a scale, there's a math whatever to figure it out. I don't even remember what it is. It's 498 is the magic number or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah,
he tells you
yeah.
You got to watch the video.
He's so smart with all. He remembers so much. Like he could just tell you. He could switch subjects and just like go right into something else too. Like he's brilliant. Hey guys, I gotta get going. It's 11:35 here. I gotta go. So 7-3. Thank you all for listening to my rant on Dvswitch and Analog Reflector. I hope you guys learned at least something out of it. And yeah, if you guys need help, Discord, and yeah, that's it. So appreciate you guys, and you guys have a great night.
Hey, you too. Thanks.
Yeah, have a good night, Mike. Thank you.
Night. I'm gonna take off too, guys. We'll see you.
All right, we'll see you later, Dan. Yeah, it's starting to get pretty late. But well, cool, man. Awesome on your upgrade of your ticket. Or when are you gonna study for your extra?
I at least want to get a couple of transmissions out in general before I think about it.
All right. Well, just drive up here. You can talk all you want. He goes on my own radio.
The VEs that were doing the test, it was actually down at a Hamfest or swap meet in the Chehalis area. Okay. I was the one there, so they're all just kind of staring at me.
Oh.
And I hand him the test. I'm like, all right, well, you passed. You want to go for extra? I'm like, nope, not right now. He's like, okay, that was pretty quick. I'm like, nowhere near ready. I'm not going to make you guys sit through that too.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I need to. I need to get down to a Hamfest, and there's a few of them that are really cool in that area, and I just haven't gone. Do you know when the next one is?
So the big one in the area is the Mic and Key, and that was in March.
Okay.
And I actually sat for my general then, and I missed it by one.
Oh,
so
no.
It's been the last couple of months, and I took it last weekend again at one down in Chehalis. It's the local club, Chehalis Valley Amateur Radio. A lot of boat anchors and things that I wasn't necessarily interested in. I picked up some odds and ends. They actually had one vendor that was up at the Mic and Key as well that they just sold like just kind of all your miscellaneous stuff, your SO239s, PL259s, isolators, just kind of random things, tram antennas, kind of just like the mix and match stuff. But you can tell it's like stuff that they drug to every Hamfest. Yeah. So actually picked up a couple of isolators from them. And didn't really pick up anything else just because wasn't what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But I did actually did the big thing I was trying to do, get my upgrade. My mom lives down in the area, so I went and visited her. So it was a good day.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite. I'm a magnet for boat anchors. Like I am, you show me some junk and I am all over it. I'm the worst. But yeah, no, we're gonna have to meet up sometime and go check out a Hamfest together or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, let's do Mic and Key next year.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to do it.
So the day that they did it this year, it was when all of the mask mandates were dropped. It was the day of where it was like statewide. You didn't have to do it. And there was a pretty good turnout, although from what I heard, because that was my first time going, it was still smaller than it usually was pre-pandemic. So hopefully next year it'll be bigger. There was tons of deals. I got all sorts of odds and ends. I got this manual antenna tuner for like $20, some coax. I was actually able to get my VHF set up. Got an external antenna mounted up on the shack now rather than trying to work off of a mag mount that I just had it kind of up on the ceiling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be a good time.
Cool deal, man.
Nice.
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and say bye to all of the wonderful people out there in YouTube land. I hope we'll see everybody next week. We appreciate all the participation, and yeah, give a big shout out to Mike when you hear him on the air or see him around. And thanks a lot for the presentation, and we will see everybody next week. 7-3.